Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about my favorite reads from 2017. I don't think I'm going to talk about these in any specific order besides my top book for the year. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Hooking Up by Helena Hunting. And this is the second book in the series, the first being Shacking Up. This is more of like an adult contemporary novel. And this was one of the first books that was in that adult contemporary romance genre that I have ever read. And this has changed the types of contemporary romances that I'm interested in. It follows two characters. The girl has just gotten married, and she quickly finds out that she has married the wrong guy because he has cheated on her not even a few hours after they are married. Like at the reception, he's cheating on her. And then she quickly finds out that it might have been more than just what happened at the reception. So we follow her as she kind of goes off on this trip to kind of find herself without this guy and kind of be okay with who she is, and in the process maybe allowing herself to be with someone who she has had feelings for, but she felt like maybe she wouldn't have been accepted within her family. And it was something that I wasn't expecting, and I just really enjoyed it. And this has opened up my eyes to kind of a different part of a genre that I have always been interested in, and I will definitely, like I've been saying, checking out more from Helena Hunting and more across this genre / age group as well. The next book that I want to talk about is another book that was completely outside of my comfort zone and completely surprised me, and I'm so happy that I read it. But that was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I received an e-arc for this book as well, and I'm not really sure why I picked it up. It sounded interesting, but honestly, when I picked it up, I didn't think it was going to be something that I would necessarily enjoy. I really just picked it up because it was outside of my comfort zone, and I was completely blown away. This book took me by complete surprise, and I still want to get a physical copy of this because I knew when I finished this book that this was going to be on my favorites list for the year. This one follows two different women in different stages of their lives. We follow Evelyn Hugo, and at the beginning of the story we find out that she requested a specific journalist to kind of come and do an interview with her for something, but once they end up meeting, we find out that she is giving this woman her life story and what exactly happened throughout her life and why she has had 7 husbands. And we go on this complete journey, and we don't really know why she chose this woman until the very end of the book. And it was just so amazing. We just get to see so much, and it felt so real, and I don't even know how to express how much I enjoyed this. If you guys like generational stories and kind of seeing a woman's perspective through different times of history and how she kind of grasped what she wanted. She just took everything she wanted and she made her way through her life the way she wanted to, at the time at least. And she wasn't always necessarily happy with some of the decisions that she made, but she stuck by each decision that she made and she used it to her advantage no matter what she has to do. And it was just so amazing. And I don't even know, I don't know how to explain it, but this book was just so amazing, and it's one that I would recommend for everyone to check out because I just loved it so much. And the last of the books that I want to talk about that I don't have a physical copy of is Nyxia by Scott Rankin, and this was another one that I received an ARC for review. This one follows this boy who gets brought in to this company to basically compete for a spot to go onto this other planet to kind of harvest this thing called Nyxia. I'm not really sure how to explain it, and he's basically doing this to try to help his family out. This book, I had a feeling that I was going to enjoy this because this is more in my typical comfort zone. I really enjoyed science fiction, and I really enjoyed YA novels. So this was one that I felt a little bit more comfortable with. But this is another one that I just really wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did. We see this main character who, although he was a male main character, I felt like I connected to him so much because a lot of his family life reflected mine, even though it wasn't exactly the same. And I just felt so much for him. And then we get to see him as he's pushing himself, and at the beginning he's not very best at what he's doing, and he's really facing the struggle of being one of the people who doesn't get chosen to do this thing that he has been brought in to do. But then we get to see him, he's really pushing, he's like, I need this, my family needs this, so I'm going to do what I need to do. But we get to see him push through that struggle that he initially goes through. And not only that, we get to see this group of teenagers. At first, the group that we follow our main character Emmett in, they are really against each other. Most of them, they're just like, although they have alliances between certain members of this group, the majority of them are just like, I'm here for me, I need to do what I need to do for me. And we get to see them come together and kind of form a bond, even though they have even though they're initially against each other. And they get thrown through so many things, and it was just so good. I feel like I'm just gushing about all of these, but it was just so good. And the ending left off on such a big cliffhanger, and I was just like, I need the next book now. And yeah, it was just amazing, and I need to give me a physical copy because obviously this is one of my favorite books of the year. The next book that I have to talk about is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the third book in the Harry Potter series. I decided to put this one on my list because I read technically the second and the third book for the first time this year, and I gave both of them, I believe, a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I will say that I enjoyed this one more than Chamber of Secrets. I believe as Harry Potter and the rest of the characters around him get older, I will enjoy this more. It's a little bit more mature, which I think is why I enjoyed this so much, besides all the stuff that happened. And I mentioned this in my wrap-up, but I got to see the difference between, the book and how the book was adapted into the movie, and I really enjoyed having a little bit more detail. I just really enjoyed this one, and I cannot wait to get to Goblet of Fire and the rest of the books in the series. The next book that I have to talk about is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This was one I heard a bunch of people talking about. I didn't really know what to expect, but I picked it up. It is another adult contemporary romance novel, and this one follows two characters who are vying for the same position in a publishing company, and this is a hate to love romance, and I just loved it so much. This is one of the books that it might not be the most quality novel, but I had so much fun reading it that it just had to make my favorites list. This is probably not a book for everybody, and there isn't a whole lot to this. It's not a whole lot to it, but it's just something that like I said, I had so much fun reading this, and I loved how the characters didn't just automatically fall for each other. It took some time for them to really get to know each other and fall in love with each other in the process of this. And I just love this so much, and I will probably pick up anything from Sally Thorne because this was her debut novel, so I'll probably pick up anything that she publishes from this point on because I just had so much fun with this. The next book that I have to talk about is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This one follows a girl named Eliza, and she has this really popular webcomic that is read by millions of people across the world, and the majority of the people don't know. I think it's 2 people who know who she actually is, but she has really bad anxiety and she doesn't really talk to anyone. She's not really close with her family, and we follow her journey as this guy comes to her school. He's another really big fan, and he's one of the most popular fan fiction writers that is part of her community. And she finds out who he is, but he doesn't know who she is. So the story kind of takes off from there. And I thought this was a really good, I don't even know how, this is really good anxiety rep type book. I don't personally have anxiety, but I felt like it was really well done in here. I know this book might not be for everybody because we get the story from Eliza's point of view. So we see everything through her mind's eye, and that might not always be the most reliable. So she's not close with her family, and although her family tried to include her, they don't necessarily understand everything that she wants and how she is. So we get to see her reaction to that, and we get to live in her anxiety and the text that she has, and it was so amazing. It gave me so much that I had never experienced before. Personally, never having any severe anxiety to the point where I was like her, where she couldn't really talk to anybody, or when she got too much attention focused on her, she was freaking out, passing out, And I really liked how at the end of the book she did seek professional help, and how that was included as part of the story. Just so people know that that is an option. This is another one that I would recommend for everyone to at least check out, because I really enjoyed this one. The next book that I have to talk about is Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. I feel like I'm saying the same thing about all of the books, but this is another one. This was such a fun adventure. I was really surprised by this. I hadn't really heard anyone talk about this, and it came in the Outcry, and I randomly decided to pick it up one day, and I just flew through this book. It's not that long, but I feel like I just fell into the story, and I fell in love with the characters and the story and everything that took place within this. It was just so much fun, and I cannot wait for the sequel, Daughter of the Pirate Queen. I just love this one. It was so much fun. The next book that I have to talk about is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. Another book that I received in an Outcry box this year, or in 2017, I believe. This was the first thing that I have ever read by Becky Albertalli, and another book that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did. I found the main character to be so relatable, and I wasn't expecting that. This was one of the first times that I had ever read something that kind of took my thoughts right out of my head around this time frame, and even sometimes still today at this point in my life where I felt like she feels. I really enjoyed reading about this character and her journey, and learning to kind of live without her comfort zone. So she has to learn how to go out there and be her own person, because she is so stuck with her sister and her friend group, and she learns to kind of venture outside of that. She learns that everything is not necessarily as she expected it would be, and that things can happen in unexpected ways. And I just really enjoyed the story and the message that was given in the story, and I will definitely be checking out more from Becky Albertalli. The second to last book that I have to talk about today is Before She Ignites by Jodi Meadows. And I'm going to say this again, which I felt like it was a common theme with my favorites of this year, but I ended up enjoying this so much more than I expected to. I don't know. I was so intimidated by this. I had heard some good things, but I still really didn't know what to expect, because I hadn't read anything by Jodi Meadows. I really didn't know what was going to take place in the story, but it was amazing. This is, once again, another book with a character that deals with anxiety, but this time this character is within a fantasy setting. So she is in this world, and she has gone through some things, and she has medication for her anxiety within this, but in this book, she ends up in a situation where she no longer has access to her medication. So she has to learn how to handle her anxieties and how to calm herself without that medication, because she no longer has access to it, and there's no guarantee that she'll ever get it again. So I really enjoyed this, and then not only that aspect, I really enjoyed everything else that was within the story. So the actual world I really enjoyed, even though we spend the majority of this book in one specific location. I feel like we get to see a lot of the world through the character's memories, and also we get to see a little bit of the outside world when she is not in prison for a little bit anymore. And I also really enjoyed the political aspect of this. There's just so many different aspects of the story that just really ties it all together into a really amazing first book in a series, and I cannot wait to see where the sequel takes, where the sequel takes the story. It's so good. Final book that I have to talk about, and my favorite book of 2017, was The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This has stayed on the top of my list for the majority of the year. I have loved this book so much since I finally picked it up. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. It follows a girl who witnesses her best friend being shot by a police officer. He is unarmed. So it kind of surrounds the Black Lives Matter movement, but there is so much more to this story. Now, in The Upside of Unrequited, I mentioned how that was the first time that I felt like I related to a character so much, but this took another part of my life and really expressed the majority of what I felt growing up. So if I just took how I felt between these two books, how much I could relate to the main characters, these would be like my life growing up some way. But so I really related to Star's family and how she and her family interacted. It was so much going on within this. It was so well written, and it's so many different things about this book that was just so amazing, and I could relate so much to it. And it just, I don't know, this book made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me cry again, it made me happy. There was a lot of things that I felt like needed to be touched on that not necessarily people always know how to address. I don't even know how to put all of my thoughts into words, but this book was just so amazing. There were so many good things about this, and I just loved it. And like I said, it was my favorite book of 2017. It might be my favorite book of all time at the moment. I'm not really sure, but I just love this so much, and I cannot wait to read more from Angie Thomas in the future. So these are all of my favorite reads from 2017, plus the 3 ebooks that I read as well this year. If any of these books made it onto your list, let me know. And if not, let me know some of the other books that made it onto your list as well. That's all I have for you guys today for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.